listening to The Daily Show.
The Daily Show?
The Daily Show.
The Daily Show.
On Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
With Russ Kane.
Phil Dave hates that new jingle. He says, hey, welcome back to the 80s. I say welcome back to the 80s. Why not? I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show. You're tuned to Men's Radio Station. We're 100% live. We're 100% uncensored. No idea where Neil is. I think his fan club in New Malden has kidnapped him because he's a very attractive man. Let's get on with our first guest of the... Well, first of all, how were you? How was everybody? I can see a little face. No, I can see a little square. Let's get on. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him. You love him. Neil Long. The late
Good
Neil
morning.
Long.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm
The late Neil Long.
You're a little bit blurry. You're a bit blurry today, to be honest with you. A bit blurry. Could be my eyes.
Am I?
Dunno.
Oh,
Yeah, never
I'm
mind.
sorry.
You're here, and that's the main thing. Let's bring on our first guest, shall we?
No, I'm Italian. What?
Oh, are you there?
That's
I don't know
Lily.
what's going on. Right, there she is. Hello, good morning to you.
Hi guys, you okay?
Well, that's a very, very long question, isn't it? That is a massive question. How long you got? How you doing?
I'm good. Are you?
Well, I'm okay. Thank you, Lily. Nice to meet you. Oh, Lisa.
Oh,
You? Oh.
that's so sweet. Tell us all about yourself. The first thing is you were Vivienne Westwood's muse. Am I right? One of her favourites.
I worked a fair bit with Vivienne Westwood. Yes.
Wow.
So I was very, very blessed to be.
Wow.
To be
We
working-
have so much in common because I've got a Vivienne Westwood top from TK Maxx. And I think we can build a
Fantastic.
friendship. I think we can build a friendship from that, to be honest with you.
Definitely, 100%.
I mean, I've had less. And so you were a model and
Yes.
now you are an artiste. Is that correct?
I am. Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay. And how does this relate? Because you're a pal of the lovely Stephen Smith,
I am.
hairdresser to the stars, who's been
He's
on the show.
so lovely.
And I'm still waiting for him to get sponsorship so he can do an LGBT and all the other initials in the alphabet show, which I want him to do. Because I'd love him to do that. He'd be fantastic. So how does this fit into what Neil and I do twice a week and I do 3 times a week? How does it fit into mental health and well-being, you being here? Please tell me there's a link.
There is a massive link, definitely, because when I started modeling, I was incredibly young. So that environment for a young girl I was 13, 14 when I started.
Jesus.
So very, very young. And it's a very toxic environment generally, as in for a young girl, not even a woman at that point, being plunged into an environment of you're never thin enough, you're never pretty enough, you're never enough. And that's a lot to deal with.
Neil found that. That's why he stopped.
I was more than pretty enough, if you don't mind.
You were,
but no.
When Tom Ford said
before we go any further, is your name
Thank
Lisa or Lily? Because it says Lily on one bit and Lisa on another.
That's my Lily's my signature name, my artist signature name, and my mum used to call me Lily.
How would you like me to address you?
Lisa's fine.
Lisa, okay, yeah. I had a friend Lisa who was a dancer. And she would say pretty much the same thing. It's constantly judged on your appearance, all the bad things that we talk about social media today. Yeah. And was even told, and these people that are, underweight already, to eat less just so they would look good. And to me,
horrendous.
That's treacherous ground to me. Treacherous.
Lisa, can I ask you a question before I want to dive into, you're 13 and thrown into that. I want to ask you a question. Something that's really bugged me, and it's really got to do with mental health, is this. The images that these designers portray of women, to my mind, are shocking. They look emaciated. And what message does this send out to, I'm going to use the word normal in parentheses, women who look at these walking skeletons and go, oh, I got to look like that? No, you don't.
No. And that is, as a woman I'm 48 this year, and I still carry that that damage from when I was that young. It's like you still have it here all the time, and you have to talk yourself off a ledge as a woman, as in, no, I am good the way I am. I'm healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't like any of it.
I think we all suffer from a bit of the "I'm not enoughness." I think
Yes.
one of the most profound affirmations I ever heard was "I am enough." I think it was really popularized by Marissa Peer, who's a famous hypnotherapist, and she found that was really the core root of all the people she was treating. But and she was treating an actor. This is where it came from. So anyone in the public eye, particularly when you're under scrutiny and constantly being judged, that's just going to magnify it even more. Surely.
Yeah.
How did your parent? I don't know anything about your background, so bear with me if I'm walking into a total minefield here. You're 13 years old. You're a baby. How on earth did your family say, "Yeah, that's fine, go and be a model"?
I think my mum and dad were just so. My mum and dad are lovely, and they were great parents. But I think that there was a lot of this very nice people, very trusting people, very naive. And also there was an element of, my mum used to come with me on certain shoots, but when I was 15, I got a contract over in Madrid. So I was then taken to Madrid as still a young girl by an agency, and from my mother agency in Manchester. And my mum was told that everything was fine by the agencies. And of course, I wanted to stay there, so I wouldn't tell my mum really what was really going on.
What was going on, Lisa? You're 15 years old. What was going on?
It was tough. It was really, really tough. And I didn't want to let people down. So, like my mum and dad were all very proud. Everyone was really proud. And I didn't really want to admit exactly how sad and alone I felt, basically.
Did you have any support from these people?
No.
Nothing.
No.
You see, I've always loathed. I got to be honest, Lisa. I've always loathed the fashion industry. I think it's a load of
they were
load of rubbish myself,
and they would actually want to put you in situations. I was brought up as with morals. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
I was lucky to get out of that minefield with my intact, if you know what I mean, because there were situations I was put into that would have, if I'd have done this with so and so, I would have gotten that job, but I didn't because I was brought up right.
Is it not? I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something which is highly contentious. But what the heck? We are uncensored here on Men's Radio, and it's this: you've got a horrible, perfect storm of two things. One, very voracious men preying on vulnerable young girls who are desperate for this work because there's only so many places.
It was like, the supermodels. It was Linda Evangelista, all these women who you aspired to be.
Yes, of course. And,
it was
Cindy Crawford
and out of bed for less than $10,000 statement. That was the.
I know my late wife had to go to a hole in the wall and get cash for Naomi Campbell. I totally trust me. I know all that. Otherwise, she said she wasn't going to turn. Anyway. The other thing, vile. The other thing is this, and this is the really contentious bit. There's a school of thought, and I'm not saying that I subscribe to it, but I really like your view, that a lot of the designers are gay, and on a subtextual level, this is how the theory goes, that they're making women look terrible because underneath they don't like them. Is there any truck with that theory?
That's a heavy statement, isn't it?
It's a very heavy statement to make. And I've seen debates on that, but I've never had the opportunity to discuss it with someone who was up there and doing it. I'm just really curious.
I never really that wasn't ever a thing that I found. It was more just, it was never really, I have wonderful, gay friends who
I understand that.
I've always, but my question is, why do you have to have women who are literally, like you've said previously, emaciated, which men don't find sexy.
It's revolting. I don't know about Neil,
sexy.
but I find it absolutely revolting. I say,
You
well,
know,
God's
I
sake,
know
let's go
when
to a
I'm-
steakhouse and get some proper,
Get some food
dinner
down,
down
and
here. for
also,
God's sake.
a little bit of butt and boobs, is sexy, and that's. But when you are in that, I remember being shouted at by an Italian designer,
Yeah.
and I literally was a skeleton. I was so skinny, and he screamed at me backstage because he called me a fat cow because I couldn't get this chain on. I was literally a child.
Why are we not surprised?
Well, where
Lisa?
did we get this idea that stick thin was good? Where did we get this idea?
Female dress that was
Because they're warped.
over my head.
Because, Neil, they're warped. That's why. I think they're warped, and I think they're
Where did we get the idea that this was good, healthy, sexy? And you're right, at the risk of sounding like a about sexist pig. Boobs and bum are nice.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm a guy. I admit it.
That's now I draw these beautiful, voluptuous, boobs and bum.
But these girls, these kids, and they are kids. You were a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, 13, 14, 15, you're a child. You may look 19, but in your head, you're a child.
Yeah.
You're living on, well, you hopefully weren't, but these kids are living on Marlboro Lights and black coffee. Yeah. That's the diet. I've heard this so often.
Choice, actually, yes. 100%. And there was, and sort of drugs were around as well.
Sure.
That was always
because the drugs keep you thin. Drugs keep you thin.
And another interesting point is in a developmental theory, which I do believe in, that peer support is so important in that particular age bracket. Not peer pressure, and certainly not pressure from people above. Peer support is the nectar for mental health in that particular time period. Ramsey Wymer Salam says some mums and dads don't really consider the impact of modelling and acting at such a young age and the impact on the long-term mental health of the children. Just this weekend, Brooke Shields has condemned her own mother, asking why she thought it was all right to let her pose naked at 10. Oh, come on. And star as a child prostitute at 11. It still impacts her to this day.
There you go.
I don't know about that. I'm only reading the comment. I haven't fact-checked that, but I'm sure you're right, Ramsey.
Well, no, Ramsey's right, because So was there any camaraderie, Lisa, amongst the models? Did you ever turn around and go, do you know what? Some of this just isn't right. Were you so thrilled to have the job, which I understand?
I mean, when I was in Madrid, because I was so young, and I was very, very, very lucky to meet where I moved to was like a hostel type, like digs in near Retiro Park, and they were from New York. And one of the girls, Jennifer, who basically massively, and you wouldn't want to mess with her. She was a New Yorker. She was lovely. And she just took me under her wing. She was a little bit older. She was like 19, 20 years old.
Oh, well, middle-aged, really.
So, as a model, yeah. But she was highly protective of me, which was lovely. I was very lucky. So I think I did have that element of, I think because I was so young, and I'm not a bad, I've never been a nasty person, because it is quite bitchy, as you can imagine.
I pretend it's not, but I can just imagine, there's only Neil and I grew up in broadcasting, right?
Yeah.
And broadcasting is dead man's shoes. Someone's got to die or be fired or leave or retire before you can get that job, because you can't sit on their lap and both.
No.
And that's exactly how it is, particularly at the BBC. And I know Neil would concur with that. So with modelling, there's only so many models they want.
Absolutely.
And interesting, my son, his partner, Cambridge educated, by the way, is also a model, but she's incredibly level-headed, very beautiful, but she's very, very level-headed and wouldn't, but I know she has to run around. It was London Fashion Week relatively recently. She was running around like a, whatever, going from casting to casting to casting. Did you feel, I'm going to put this very crudely, forgive me. Did you feel like you were kind of meat on a hanger?
I'm just going to say, like a cattle market. Yes, basically. Yeah. You never really got spoken to. You got spoken about.
Like you're not in the room. Did they talk to you like you're not in the room, that you can't hear them? They go,
yeah, you would have that quite often. Yeah.
Wow.
It was.
Do you know what, Lisa? I'm so glad you came on. I know Neil is too, but you're horribly. I was really hoping we wouldn't have this conversation, but you've merely reconfirmed everything that I
Sorry.
inside thought. No, but you're confirming everything that I thought and believed. It's
I'm sure
it seems so unfair.
One of my bestest friends, Samantha, she's still, she's same age as me. We met when we were in Japan, actually, and we've been firm friends ever since. And she still does certain modelling jobs. She's actually now a nutritional therapist, but she got a degree in nutritional therapy. But she had a Crohn's disease that developed from obviously bad diet at a young age, or no diet, should we say. But she's completely turned her life around, and it's fantastic. But she, you speak to any one of us as like not minions, but models who were just models who worked, you would have exactly the same story. It's tough. It's a very, very, for your mental health, as you've asked, how does it impact? It impacts massively.
I can well imagine. I mean, broadcasting isn't a great environment for your mental health, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it takes an awful lot of, it takes attitudes that most of us, I think, hopefully reach in middle age. It's that kind of 20, 40, 60 thing. At 20, you care what everyone thinks about you. At 40, you don't care. And at 60, you realise they were so preoccupied with themselves, they weren't thinking about you at all in the first place. But these realisations come with kind of age and wisdom. And I'm sort of stumbling my way there. But certainly in my 20s, I wanted everyone to like me. And it wasn't I wasn't being put in
Neil, but you've loved
broadcasting.
You've always loved broadcasting. I've known you many years.
I loved it, but everyone had that. Where we both.
Well, yeah. Well, that was a deliberate. It was a lovely culture, and then it became a culture of fear and intimidation. Yeah, it was deeply unpleasant, so we ignored it. But I was lucky because our show was so. Because
good. When it's good, it's very good. I mean, there must have been some good times.
What I was going to say, and Lisa, but Lisa will understand this. The show that I was on was the Breakfast Show, which was such a cash cow, such a huge generator of income that the monsters couldn't touch us because they knew that they'd interrupt the income stream. So we were just left alone. I was very, very lucky, very lucky. I know that. And Neil knows what I'm talking about.
I wasn't.
They couldn't disturb us. It's like, I guess, a real supermodel. You're not going to mess with her because that is, I'm going to use the word cash cow again. It's a cash generator. It's a big revenue generator. Same as we were. We were making money hand over fist. It was crazy. It's this thing. Now, Elizabeth Green, who, I'm not sure if she's in New York or London because she travels around in and out like a fiddler's elbow. She says, I'm not surprised women being denigrated. And I've kind of always thought that about modeling. I mean, I know you've got to show the clothes.
Of course.
I get that. I do. Yeah. But it's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
It's an odd culture, definitely. And it always has been, definitely more so in the 90s. I think it really changed. The 60s, with Twiggy and it was
Leslie Hornby as she was.
Well, it was that awful heroin chic in the 90s.
Christ almighty.
Yeah,
you look like you're half dead. What was the point of that?
And there was a space in the late 90s of there was about 3 girls that dropped dead, like early 20s from abuse of drugs and the asthma inhalers.
What was that one last one?
Yeah.
What's the asthma inhalers? Explain that.
It was something to do with asthma inhalers that they were using to keep their weight down.
Jesus Christ! What a world!
It is like you
say.
What a
world! All to sell some stupid clothes, which I know is a multi-billion-pound industry. I get it, but really.
At what point, Lisa? At what point did you go? Do you know what? This is not making me happy. Assuming you did, this is not making me happy. I need to work on myself. I need to find my own happiness. What was the turning point for you?
It was when I moved from Japan back to England, and I was in London, and I'd been there a couple of years, and it was just I was having incredibly dark thoughts, as in ending my own life. And
oh, Lisa.
It was, and that's not being dramatic. I'm not a dramatic.
No. We have this. This is a mental health
not at
radio
all.
station. It's fine. You don't have to.
I rang my mum, God bless her, at 2 a.m, and I said, "Mum, I am desperately unhappy." And bless her, she drove to London and got me at 2 a.m.
Bless her for that. Thank God you had the
my like I said,
parental support. What a wonderful thing.
But, I didn't tell them. It was my own, I just didn't want to upset anyone. I just wanted everyone to be happy and proud of me, which is silly. Like you're saying, your 20s, you're so bothered about what everyone thinks of you, and you don't want to let people down.
Well, that's true.
No.
I still don't want to let people down. I don't really care what people think. But I don't want to let people down because if I've made a commitment, I've made a commitment, whatever it might be. Elizabeth, I don't think your point's valid.
But trading in your own mental and physical health to not let people down is a step way too far. But sadly, it is all too encouraged under the guise of what? There are some improvements. Have you heard of models of diversity, Lisa?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Great organisation.
I was going to ask you a question. I'm so sorry, Neil. Go on. Oh, all right.
I was just going to say it's an organisation set up to be more inclusive on the catwalk. Plus size models, LGBT, even disabled people.
Yes.
Run by a wonderful lady called Angel Sinclair.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it goes too far. You have a situation, Lisa, where you got. All right, you're talking about role models. Looking at people who look that are just. They're desperately ill is not good.
No.
Looking at people, and it's mainly women because guys don't seem to model that way, who are quite clearly obese.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a great message either.
No.
And yet now we're told, Lisa, but now let me just hang on, Lisa. Let me just finish my point. Now. We're told, you got to admire them. No, you look like you're going to drop dead any minute of cardiac arrest. You're ridiculously overweight, not slightly. You're clearly hugely. Any doctor would say to you, you've got to lose weight. You're going to be diabetic or whatever. And yet we're supposed
to
go,
the pendulum going too far the other way?
No, I don't think you are.
I wouldn't celebrate. I think celebrating a woman is healthy, and you can be healthy at a size 20, 22. You can be healthy at a size 8, but you're healthy. And like you say, why celebrate?
That's the metric, isn't it?
Which is unhealthy.
Yes.
Because all it is basically you're killing yourself with. You can be healthy at any size, but be healthy, eat well, get your sleep, get your exercise the way you want to. But, to celebrate basically, like you say, an unhealthy living isn't great. I wouldn't say
this is this stupid culture that we're now in, that everything's okay. And you can't say, hey, do you know what? You're fat. Stop eating all this crap.
Don't think twice.
Don't eat all, it's like, don't eat all this crap. Take a little bit of care of yourself.
Care of yourself, self-care.
Like looking like the size of a barrage balloon is not healthy, and I don't think why everyone should be applauding it. I just don't. It's just not right.
No,
it's as bad a message, and no one's allowed to say this, but we say it here on the Daily Show.
Yeah,
no one's allowed. It's as bad a message to other people as looking emaciated and ill because you're living on Marlboro Lights, black coffee, and drugs.
Mm-hmm. No,
it's crazy. So what are you doing now, Lisa? Talk quickly about your art. Please do.
Right. Well, I've got, like I say, I'm an artist now, which is wonderful.
It is wonderful. Yes, well done.
I started really painting it was a massive part of my mental health and healing. And so that's been going fantastic. And I've got a big show in London on the 20th of April. So that's at the Bickerton Grace Gallery.
They say that slowly because everyone's going to be saying,
I'll put it on the screen.
It's the 20th of April and it's at the Bickerton Grace Gallery.
What?
and
The Bickerton Grace Gallery. Okay.
You want to spell that for me, just because I'm slow?
BICKBERTON, separate word, Grace Gallery.
Grace.
And where is that?
It's near Tower Hill.
Oh,
It's
okay.
on the highway, yeah.
Not on the highway to hell, is it?
No, thankfully.
Okay. Just love that track. I love AC/DC because they just know what you're going to get, don't you? It's like if you like McDonald's,
And this is your
thing.
first exhibition, is it?
No, it's the next. My next, it's a relaunch of the gallery, which I've been with for a couple of years.
That's not the motorbike gallery, is it? Is that where the motorbike?
It's
the motorbike place.
Yeah,
it's around the corner to me.
It's going to be a great night.
Oh, Neil, you would love this place. You would love this place. It's brilliant. So cool. They make the guy who runs it. Very, very briefly, be very quick, but it's about art, and art is good for our mental health and well-being.
Yeah. This
guy imported mosaics. That's basically what he did for like bathrooms and baths, and then he got they said, do you want to bring in these fantastic designed electric motorbikes and electric scooters, the likes of which I've never seen. And he thought, you know what, I will, but I could do so much more with them. And he's created, and each one, Neil, I'm telling you, man, each one's like a work of art. And you just walk around going, this is fantastic. It's this beautiful space. Neil, I love it there. It's really nice. It's really nice. I know exactly where you mean.
Community feel with all the other artists as well. Yeah. That's a lovely support of everyone supporting artists.
And that's the difference, isn't it? That's the difference. And it's weird you say this, because on Twitter, you would think that other authors were not supportive, and they're amazing. Some of the biggest authors in the world. I'm talking about Patricia Cornwell, who created Kay Scarpetta, Anthony Horowitz, Janice Hallett, Sophie Hannah. So supportive. It's extraordinary. Amazing. It's different. You don't have to stab each other in the back. It doesn't help life.
No,
it really doesn't.
No,
it doesn't.
It's not a nice way to live that negativity. I don't get that. I think it's lovely to support each other. There's so many talented people out there.
Don't you think, Lisa, though, that the negativity, it's because certain industries, Neil knows where I'm going with this, certain industries attract that sort of person with that sort of mindset. Don't you think? It suits them to be, because they're basically horrible people to start with. And they find loads of other horrible people, so they feel right at home.
Yeah.
Well, they say like attracts like.
Well,
yes.
It sounds so simple, but it's so true, you know. And if you give out positives, I don't want to get all airy-fairy about it, but you know, it's amazing. Nice stuff comes back at you, you know. It's like waking up in the morning.
Run over your dog.
This is it. It's nice. I know, not to sound like you say all airy-fairy, hippy-dippy, but you know, life's too short to be that negative. You know, I mean, life's hard enough without all of that.
I agree, and it just feels so much better to be positive. And I find when it's a mutually supportive environment, that the magic can happen, and literally wonderful things unfold in that environment. It's ease or struggle. It's scarcity or abundance. Take your pick. It's one of the two. You know.
It's kind of interesting. It kind of is interesting, and also, I don't know how you feel about this, Lisa. If you wake up and you're in a shitty mood, and everything's negative, everything that you touch will be shit that day. It's guaranteed. And if you wake up and go, I'll give it my best shot, you know, it kind of works out. It works out a little bit better. I love that. Abundant. Did you think of that? Is this one of yours?
Abundance is better than scarcity anytime.
It's very
I can't take credit for that. I adopted it, but it's good, isn't it?
That's good. I like that.
Good. Now then, supermodel artiste, friend of Stephen Smith, do you want to hang around, or have you got to dash off and do painting? Because, by the way, my hall could really...
Get the Dulux out. It's
come on, Neil, it had to be done. Come on. If Tracy Emin was here, I'd say
Sorry,
the
it
same
froze
thing.
there for a moment. I missed that bit of comic genius. I'm sorry.
It was comic genius, and
It
boy,
was.
your friend's going to be glad when I bring back my stand-up again. Do you want to hang around with our next guest, or do you want to dash off? It's entirely up to you.
I'm more than happy to hang around.
Let's hang right. Neil, you're going to do the introduction because this is your guest, and of whom I know nothing. Off you go.
I would like to introduce our next guest. It's lovely talking to you, Lisa, and I hope you're around. Before we do that, just one more quick plug for your
Right.
20th of April, the Bickerton Grace Gallery. Where is that?
Yeah.
Where in town is that?
It's near to Tower Hill.
Where?
It's near the
Near Tower Hill.
yeah.
Near Tower Hill. Okay.
Parking's a
I
bit
hope
of a
that goes
swine.
really, really well
I
for
was
you.
lucky last time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice there. It's like it's always a
Okay.
nice evening. It's always you'll enjoy it, Neil, if you could drag yourself away from New Malden. Who knows? I understand why he doesn't want to leave. It's like leaving Las Vegas. Right, Neil, do
So
your
our next
fabulous
guest-
introduction.
I went. I do stand-up comedy, and I went down to the South Coast to do a cheeky little gig down in Fareham. Was it Fareham? Of course, it was down the South Coast, Hampshire, on the coast. I think it was Fareham. And I met this chap who was first on. Him and a wonderful sidekick, which he will explain. But he had an incredible backstory, and I thought, if this isn't about mental health, then I don't know what is. We have got to get him on the show. So please welcome, go wild and crazy, for the comedian that is Mr. Jay Saunders.
How are you all?
How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks very much for having me on.
Because comedians are such good storytellers. I sometimes I get really drawn into the stories that they're telling, and I don't know if it's the truth or not. It's sometimes half truth, which is really. But you were 100% genuine, and I think I got to that realization, thinking you just wouldn't make up stories about that. It's not the kind of stuff you make up stories about, because you were in the forces, right, and still involved with them, but you were on active service in the forces, right?
Yeah. So basic backstory. I spent 23 years in the British military, left at the rank of Lieutenant Commander, did various operational tours. I spent most of my career actually with the British Army, very unusually. So I ended up with more, as we joke about it, I ended up with more salt in the sand in the veins than I did salt. But my final operational deployment, I was in Sierra Leone during the Ebola virus. We joke about it. It was horrific. It was the zombie apocalypse. You're daily running into people that have, viral dementia. They're bleeding from the eyes and ears. The fatality rates at that time was 100%. So when I came home, I had to deal with the fact, I wasn't normal anymore, and eventually got diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And I've been trying to manage that since my diagnosis.
Jay, can I interrupt for a second? I wouldn't normally, but this is someone who's been incredibly supportive to Men's Radio and The Daily Show, lives in Spain, watching and listening in Spain. And this is, when you get messages like this, you think, it says, I'm sorry. How much more can I take? Last Friday, my daughter's partner, not her drug addict daughter, died. It was a lung cancer operation of 12 hours, then another one to repair a hole in the heart, and it failed. Chrissy, I don't know what to say to you. Whoa. Your life is just so traumatic. We send our very best. Everybody on The Daily Show, all the team, and all the team at Men's Radio Station send their very best to you. I'm so sorry. I just hope one day your life will just become easier and more pleasant. And it's just been such a horrible spiral for you, and I'm just ghastly. Jay,
so
continue.
Sorry, Chrissy. Sorry.
I really am, but I couldn't let that one.
And we've started to understand, I think, a little bit more about PTSD. I think the first time I really encountered it in a meaningful way, I'd heard the term. I knew it used to be called shell shock, then it was updated to PTSD. was when I encountered some of the people that were at Headley Court, which I think is a kind of rehab centre for army people, isn't it? And I saw people. I was DJing in the pub down the road actually, and some of them there, and some of them didn't have limbs and all that sort of stuff. And we got talking a little bit. I'm aware that there's a lot more work around trauma at the moment, and it is better understood and more treatable, I understand now, with therapies like havening and things like that, which Paul McKenna has popularised. But so how are you managing and coping with it? And comedy is a part of that, and this is where it gets really fascinating, because you go on stage and talk about it. Is that cathartic for you? How does that help? And how did all this come about?
So when I was well, I used to be heavily involved with amateur dramatics. I was heavily involved with writing. In fact, I wrote 7 stage plays. That was something I could do when I was well. But I found when I tried to write again, I would disappear into darkness. It would automatically drag me back to the negativity. I saw this opportunity through a charity called Project Recce. They are absolutely stunning people. Project Recce's main aim is to help veterans get employment in the construction industry. But as you can imagine, during the COVID lockdowns, the construction industry shut down. So they ran some well-being courses. One of them they started was called Project Comedy, and it's still running to this day. It was a series of stand-up comedy courses being run by Laughing Horse Comedy, and the amazing Jay Sodigar.
Alex Kelly, I know Laughing Horse. Yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
Well,
so Jay is, I joke about him. He's our friend, mentor, and occasional lover. Jay is still with us, helping us run it. We did the course, and then suddenly I found this new outlet for my PTSD. The joy of comedy is, even in the writing phase of it, if it's not funny, you throw it away, because all you're trying to do is deliver joy on the stage. And that is something so cathartic about the actual writing process, that when I'm having a dark moment, I can throw open my laptop, start writing comedy, and if it's not funny, I throw it away. It is a great way of focusing on positivity and humor, and then to be able to take it to the stage and joke about things like my suicide attempts, the fact I have complex PTSD, my cognitive disorder, how I am absolutely repulsive to both genders. You can end up having an absolute riot with it, let people laugh in with you. And then on top of that, because I have PTSD, I also have a PTSD assistance dog, a beautiful little black Labrador. So nobody ever remembers my name.
Because when you were introduced
this is my sidekick on the stage
by the compare, and you came on stage, first act on, with a little black Labrador. And I'm like, I've never seen this before. And I mean, you're very good, but he was the star of the show, dude.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody pays to see me. They just want to see the Labrador in the blue jackets. I mean, he steals the show at all times. But yeah, I've become that comedian that goes on stage with the dog. But he's so used to it now. The first couple of times I did it.
You're the Bob Carroll G's of 2023.
Sorry? Say that again.
So you're the Bob Carroll G's of 2023.
Dog who Russ is referring to.
But no, he loves it on the stage now. The first couple of times he picked up my anxiety and wanted to take me away and take me to safety. But now he looks at me and goes, "Oh, Dad's doing that thing again," and literally falls asleep on the stage. It's brilliant. So I love.
So he's a therapy dog, is he? I didn't know he was a therapy dog.
No, he's an assistance dog, so he actually does change my behaviour.
His agent is what it is. It's a black lab.
Absolutely.
It's his agent. You can't argue with him because he ripped his throat out.
No, he does everything from remind me when to take my medications. He will forewarn me if I'm about to have a disassociation, flashback, or anxiety attack.
Hang on.
He will drag me to places of safety.
Whoa. How?
You train them by positive reinforcement. So every time he started doing something that helped me control a behavior when he was a puppy, we reinforced with a click and a treat. And so Hawk never thinks he's working. He thinks he's just playing and looking after Dad. So he's associated with timing he gets food to nudge me to take my medication. He knows when I'm starting to become weary, or he starts seeing me tremor, or he starts to see me stammer and go, "It's now time to take Dad to somewhere safe." He thinks he's playing at all times, but recognizes my behaviors before I can identify them myself. It's magical what he does for me.
Incredible.
Jay, are you saying then that your dog doesn't just sleep on the bed, then have something to eat, then move to the sofa, and then just sleep? Because I thought
No,
that's
he's
what
a
all
legend on the
dogs
stand-up
did.
circuit, mate.
That's what my
2 feet
dog
to my
does.
left. 2 feet to my left. Living proof. That's what dogs do.
Mhm.
Nothing. Nothing. I love this.
And how
This is
are
great.
you? How are you now? Are you managing it a lot better now? Obviously, it's improving. Can I tentatively say?
Some days are a challenge, some days aren't. I'm going to say at the moment, I'm feeling pretty good because I've just had another exciting thing happen for myself. I have just been
Yes, you did
selected
tell me
to
about
take
that. Yes,
part.
go on, share this.
I've just been selected to be part of Team UK in the Invictus Games.
Wow.
So I will be going to the Invictus Games in Dusseldorf, representing my nation once again in archery, and Hawk will be there with me. So not only do I have my comedy, I've got my sports, I've got my team. Thanks to the great Royal British Legion for organising this year's Invictus. Yeah, it's time to represent my nation again, but this time in sport.
That's
Brilliant.
amazing. Congratulations. And I know you're getting lots of gigs at the moment. How many gigs are you doing a week, would you say?
I try to do one a week. I would love to do more, but again, this is balancing mental health and a cognitive disorder. So if I try and place myself under too much pressure, at the moment, comedy is a hobby and a therapy for me. But at some point, I would love it to be my form of income. So this May, me and my friends in Project Comedy, we're doing a 3-night run at the Brighton Fringe Festival. So, and then Jay Sodegar is going to be headlining for us there. So it's going to be 3 veterans and Jay Sodegar.
I know that name. He's another one out the Laughing Horse stable, Jay Sodegar.
Stable.
Yep. So we're putting on a show called Gags Army at the Walrus, 14th, 15th, and 16th of May. So come and see what a bunch of silly veterans can actually do for their mental health just by using comedy.
Brilliant.
Can I change the
I
subject?
think it's brilliant. I wasn't trying to make a bad
I want to
horse
change
pun there. I
the
realised what I said.
subject for a second. Hang on. I want to change the subject for a sec. Something I feel very strongly about is supporting our troops. I was very closely associated with the Army Benevolent Fund, which changed its name to the Soldiers Charity. It's something I feel passionate about. I was involved with it for many, many years, and on the Lord Mayor of London, not the idiot, the proper Lord Mayor committee, and we raised, I think, about 7 million, something like that. How do you feel when people say that flying, it's called the Union Jack, it's actually the Union flag, is, you're a fascist because you're showing patriotism? How do you feel about that?
I wore it on my uniform for 23 years. It is part of my uniform.
Yeah.
It is part of my identity. Yes, there are some lunatics out there that will try and claim it for something that it's not. It is my emblem. It represents my nation. It represents the servicemen that I have fought with, for decades.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
So
it is a personal relationship for me. People can try and claim it for something else. I don't agree with them.
So Jay, why is it then? And it's a question which bugs me. I've spent a lot of time in America. Why is it okay outside many, many, many buildings, the Stars and Stripes is flown? No one goes, "You're Nazis." And if you do it over here, you're attacked. No, I don't have a flagpole for.
I think that's something uniquely British, isn't it? It's the fact that we don't need to pin everything on a piece of fabric. It means to be British is more than one piece of cloth. Being British is the way we hold ourselves, the way we conduct ourselves. We can take it back to elements like the Blitz spirit or the way we end up with community. The fact that we have a national health service and hold it so dear to our hearts. That's what makes you British,
and
not
the way
the piece of fabric.
together during COVID, most of us did as well.
Absolutely, going out and banging your pots to thank workers and nurses. Whereas Americans, they unite around that flag. That becomes their be all and end all. For us, we've got other things in common as a nation that make us British. It's not just one element.
It's the meme more than the message. For us, it's the message more than the meme, if you like. That's the way. Do you do all your gigs on the South Coast?
This is true. Leslie's point is true. That is, they have to pledge. They have to pledge allegiance to the flag, which we don't have. We don't have that over here. It's a different thing.
No. But the kind of allegiance you're talking about, that's internal. That's a set of values, and that's a personal
which are under attack. Which are under attack, Neil, the whole time. Which is why it makes me crazy, because I wish people could spend time with, like our guest Jay. I mean, both of our guests today have shown such a light on stuff which is swept under the carpet because it's not fashionable. No pun intended, Lisa. But you know what I mean. And when you talk
conversations like this are so important.
Totally. When you talk to soldiers, they're so matter of fact about what they do, and I would always say, "My God, you're so brave. I can't believe they don't vote." This is what pisses me off. They don't vote to go. If they voted where they were going to go on, be deployed, they'd vote for the Bahamas or Bermuda or, Marbella or something. They don't vote to go to the most god awful places on the planet and live under.
We did a gig. We did a gig. We hosted a festival for an army base last year. Me and a couple of DJ colleagues. The people we met, absolutely top notch people. Lovely people, and so utterly professional as well in what they did. Utterly professionalism and detail to a T. Absolutely fantastic.
I've got to say, have a look at this year's Invictus squad. We've got 59 guys and girls selected and 6 non-traveling reserves. Every one of those is a personal story of not only victory, but when you actually see what they have done throughout their service, and they've ended up wounded, injured, or sick. So we've got everything from mental health, brain injuries, amputations, chronic illness, immune failures, and what have you. It shows how professional but diverse the armed forces community is, but equally, how our veterans still fight every day just to exist and try and better themselves so they can continue after they've served their nations.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when people wouldn't, I suppose, really think of it so much, would they? Until the conversations about the aftermath and what people are experiencing, like you say, a fight every day, comes on their radar, because I suppose both people wouldn't think about that unless they were in the situation. But it's equally as important. It's equally as important. The aftercare, for want of a better word.
Is there enough
aftercare?
Is there enough aftercare? Because my view is, just based on experience and other guests, is that they ask you to go out and do stuff which very few people can do. Very few. I couldn't do it. I don't know how you do it, but you do. And then you give all and make terrible sacrifices. And then you come back and it's just, thanks very much, bye. And it's like, wait, hang on a minute. Hang on. You've asked these people to do, extraordinary things under dreadful circumstances. You've got to look after them. And yet you're perfectly prepared to laud and think how wonderful some moron on a reality show is, who've done nothing apart from being self-serving.
But I think also we're developing a much greater understanding of trauma now. There's some wonderful people doing great work in that field. Who's the godfather? What's his name? It'll come to me in a minute. It'll come to me. That's annoying me now. But and also trauma, from what I understand, PTSD. It isn't. I mean, of course, people like yourself suffer from it, but there's a thing called small t trauma, which can be losing a job, losing a pet, and
no small thing.
Everyone has some trauma.
It's no small thing. Let's just get a little bit of context around this. Elizabeth Green in New York is saying, I haven't been through what you have, Jay, obviously, but she has to face each day and be brave about it. Fair enough. We all have things, but losing a pet, losing a job or something, they're not small things. Now, I know it's not the same as walking along and seeing your mate get blown to a million pieces by
I'm not
land.
saying I agree with the term. I'm just saying what it's called.
I get that. Yeah. No, I get that. But, one of the things that you say a lot, Neil, and is be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. No, we're not heroes like Jay. We couldn't do what Jay did. Well, I'm speaking for Neil and myself. We couldn't do what Jay does and go out there and at the risk of actually being shot or blown up or maimed or God knows what. But nonetheless, don't beat yourself up that you're not, Chuck Norris. We're doing our best. we're doing our
also that thing of turning around and asking for help.
Lisa, what were you saying? Sorry.
Yes.
Everything's relative, though, isn't it? And if yes, obviously, like with Jay, that's extreme, and very courageous environment. But also, there's some people who,
capital T trauma.
It's still, if something like, say, losing a pet, it's still very upsetting.
Awful. It's horrible.
Very much so.
It's relative to,
and you've touched something so important here, because we would think army people, trained to the hilt, trained to ignore emotions, not nothing. But the fact that you're a guy coming on here saying it's okay to ask for help.
Gosh, that's
even with all that intense army training, even with all the, toughening up that you had to do, to say that it's all right to ask for help and to be open enough to show that, if I can use the word vulnerability, is so refreshing. And I hope every man, because we're terrible at it, who's a bit embarrassed about asking for help because he's supposed to all the time, can watch this and see this video and go, hey, it's okay, necessary, desirable, important to ask for help.
You know perfectly well. You know perfectly well why the armed forces want to get more and more machines to do what Jay has to do and what Jay did. It's because they don't want that human element, which I understand. They want to be able to press buttons and stuff happens. And if a machine gets blown up, it gets blown up. It's just money. That's why. In World War II, why a lot of the German forces were hugely on drugs to take away emotion and keep them going the whole time and not sleep, etc. Because you don't really want humans out there. What you want are bodies out there who can do a lot of the action, which is what is required. That's why that is. But I think what everybody is saying here, and there's two such different guests from completely different backgrounds. One thrown into the world of modeling with all that entails at the age of 13. One on frontline action. Both heroes, because you both survived. You can scoff. You've both survived. You've both come out of it. You're fully functioning human beings. And you are exemplary to what can be done. And it comes down to what Neil says most shows, which is just be kind to yourself, if you can. Not all of us can do that, but it's true. And it just, it's no good saying, well, my problems aren't as big as everybody else, so I better shut up about it. No, they're your no,
it's not Trump. That's the kind of thing our inner critic would say to us. Look at that person. This has happened to me. Look at that person over there. They've suffered all that, and you're suffering over this. You wimp. That was my self-talk, which is really unhelpful. That's the name of the trauma guy. He's done a load of great work in the field. Gabor Mate. I don't know if you. Yeah, it just came to me. Gabor Mate. Absolutely brilliant. When's your next gig, Jay?
I've got one. Good Lord, that's a very good question. At the moment, I'm focusing on my archery because I'm trying to get my strength back for a training camp. But I got one on the 16th. Got in. I'm doing the Boutique Comedy Club.
Archery. Sorry? Can I do something I've wanted to do my whole life? Because we've never had an archery guest on.
Hang on a second. Let me just get this on the screen.
Hang on. This is the big moment. This is my big moment for archery. You've got to be of a certain age to get. You've got to be of a certain age to get it.
No, I don't wear green tights, but it would be great.
Come on. You wear a nice little hat with a feather in it. Come on, what's the point? That's not proper.
No. I'm not a longbow man. I'm Olympic recurve, so I've got one of those bows with all the rods stabilizers.
Told you. What's the name of that club? Let me get it on the screen. Was it the
Boutique Comedy Club in Southsea? We got a lovely little comedy circuit down here, and I want to go back to what you were just saying about if you are struggling and you think it doesn't matter, because when you're comparing it to other people, don't. What happens to you is personal to you. So reach out, get help. Don't go into isolation. The worst thing we can do for our mental health is isolation. This is why comedy helps me so much.
Yeah, it's driving him. It's driving him
Yeah,
mad.
this is why comedy helps me so much. It forces me to have a social life and share with people.
Yeah. Mm.
Graham wants
very,
to know
very
why you
much
didn't
so.
call your dog Robin Hood. Yeah, it's amazing that. Right, guys, thank you so much. I think you're both brave. I think you've both been fantastic guests.
I do, and I thoroughly enjoyed your set, Jay. It was a privilege to share the stage with you, sir.
Oh no, I can't wait to gig with you again. It was a riot.
That was the audience. They rioted after Neil's set.
16th of
Jay
April,
Saunders,
Boutique
thank you
Comedy
so
Club in
much.
Swansea.
Lisa, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Good luck. Bye. Well, they were great, weren't they? They were marvelous.
Weren't they
loved
just?
them. Well, I loved them. They were super duper. Am I on the wrong side now? I can't remember. I'm on the wrong side now, aren't I? It's like Anton Deck and Eric and Ernie. You've got to be on the right side.
All right, you can go on the left if you want to.
No. I'm normally. Which side am I normally on? I'm normally on.
Sorry.
You're being childish now. Now you're being childish. Liz, give him a slap. What interesting guess. What are the main headlines? What are the main headlines you'd pull from that? How would you unpack that?
It's okay. If I were to summarize this show, no matter what you've been told, no matter what memes you've grown up with of what it is to be a man or a woman for that matter, it's okay to ask for help. Losing your mental or physical health for the sake of fashion makes absolutely no sense at all. And as we've seen with the pioneering work of people like, the name's gone straight out my head, Sinclair and Models of Diversity, it can be more inclusive, but the pendulum shouldn't swing too far the other way. It's all about balance. Health is the metric. These are the takeaways I wrote down. Health, mental and physical, is the metric to celebrate and champion. Self-care, absolutely brilliant. Mindset, it's either a mindset of abundance or scarcity, and that's my fun way of putting it. Always a cheeky bun dance is better than living in scarcity anytime. If you want to explore this guy, it really is the godfather. He does some amazing work.
Mate.
No, not mate. Mate, you commoner. Mate. It's got an accent. I couldn't put the accent on there. It's got an acute accent.
Of course you couldn't.
Gabble Mate. There you go. So they would be my takeaways from today. Thank you to our brilliant guests and Chrissy Richards. We send you love.
Chrissy,
and I'm so sorry to hear that news.
Well, God, what bloody stuff you go through. Jeez. And it's relentless. Bloody relentless.
We have your back for what it's worth.
I could so understand that when it gets relentless and you just want to take a breath. You think, please cut me some slack. Enough now. And then boom, the next thing comes and whacks you in the head, which is just it's just ridiculous. They were both so interesting, weren't they?
Yeah, and there's Jay's date again.
Tell you something that's fascinating me about your guest, Jay, who I didn't know at all. Unless you've done it, you have no idea how terrifying it is to do stand-up. Whatever you think it is,
I'm weird. I love it.
Infinitely, well, yeah. You could have stopped at I'm weird and just left it at that.
I'm just weird. I love it.
Everybody around the world's just nodding. Oh, yeah, we know that. Obviously, we've got used to him now. But it's terrifying. So it's so interesting that somebody can find comfort and healing in something which is so extreme.
Well, I was trying to break it down when he was talking about the writing, and something came to me, and I could be wrong here, but he says he writes and discards the bits that aren't funny, so puts those over there and keeps the bits in. And I'm wondering if it's possible to do that with memories as well. Discard those over here. Jesus. I don't know. But one more thing to put on the screen.
An interesting point.
One more thing to put on the screen. If you are experiencing trauma, or know someone that is, Paul McKenna has popularized this. This is the treatment to look up: havening, It came from Dr. Ronald Rudin, who's a typical medical doctor, but he was looking for the magic bullet of healing. And even powerful therapies like NLP couldn't quite get to the root of it. But this is a psychophysical therapy. So it's psychological and physical at the same time. I'll explain more on another show. But literally, and the experience is you still have the thoughts, but they have no more emotional sting to them, so it doesn't bring up the trauma again. So you could have the thought of what was traumatizing you, but it would have no more
about
emotional
6 months
sting
of
than
that, fella.
it would have no more emotional sting than what should we have for lunch today, and it can be done so
I had
quickly.
anything in
They
the
dealt
house,
with a case of PTSD in an hour with it, and I'm
guys,
not joking.
we are out of time. Neil, bless you. I'll see you Wednesday. Until then, try and stay out of trouble, everybody. Bye, gang. Bye-bye.
Love you, hug you, squeeze you.
Something like that.